Welcome to another episode of Power Core Productions and Podcastings. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And today, we're going to be continuing Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Star of Hope, the crossover between Neon Genesis Evangelion and Power Rangers Zeo. Now, normally on Mondays, we do What If Naruto was the Avatar, and that was the original plan. However, I do have a poll going up at the moment that I need you guys to vote on, as there are a lot of parts of that story that can change depending on what you guys vote for. Now, the poll was supposed to be for what versions of Team 7 you would like to see in this story. Mainly because I feel like I could switch up the teams if you wanted me to. Now, these are your options down below. The three teams would be as before: Team 7, Team 8, and Team 10, with Kakashi, Kurenai, and Asuma. However, as you know, the beginning in that story will be a bit different. For one, Naruto has the spirit of Rava and is currently the Avatar, and does not have Kurama. And due to different events in this story, instead of Sakura, we have Karin Uzumaki instead, who possesses half of the Nine Tails. One thing that I want you guys to keep in mind though is that Karin Uzumaki is a full-blooded Uzumaki, the key indication being the red hair, and since she only has one half of the Nine Tails, her chakra control is actually pretty good. Not maybe on the par of Sakura, but I'd say it's around 80% of what Sakura can do, so she has the potential to be pretty powerful. And depending on where we put her in the story, this could lead to a lot of different things happening. So it's up to you guys what combination of the different getting teams you would like to see in the story. So comment that down below as well as on the post, and tell me throughout the week, because we'll be continuing What If Naruto was the Avatar on Friday, and based on the results that I get from all of you, that's how the story is going to be structured going forward. The cutoff time is going to be Thursday at midnight, because by then I will have to write the story, so I'm pretty much already prepared for what I'm going to write. I have a good idea, but it's mainly just trying to figure out who will be on what teams, so please continue to vote and do that as well. And in the meantime, we'll be moving everything up by one day. So we'll be doing Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Star of Hope today. We'll be doing What If Tanjiro Had Venom tomorrow. Then we'll be getting into the other stories that we have on the channel as well, such as What If Deku was a Power Ranger, and What If Spider-Man was in Re:Zero Season 2. So that's everything to look forward to this week, and I do hope you will enjoy the content. But as always, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. But without further ado, we're going to get into today's story. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. For Shinji, Toji, and Kinsuke, their lives had now changed in more ways than what they were expecting. Now, instead of being the pilot of Eva Unit 1, Shinji now found himself as the Zeo Ranger 5, along with his now newly limited friends/rangers, who had also received their own powers as well. After being given clearance by Nerve, Toji would go on to assume the role of Zeo Ranger 4 Green, as well as Kinsuke, who would assume the role of Zeo Ranger 3 Blue. Jason would serve as their primary instructor, as he was the only one well versed in the Ranger powers, and it seemed just in all fairness that it would be up to him in order to train the boys in everything that they would need. Having the full support of Nerve, seeing just what the Ranger powers were truly capable of, many people were starting to question whether or not the Evas were the right fit to fight the Angels. Of course, for some people, it was just a matter of all the work that had been put into the Evas in the first place, now having to learn a new system with the Zords and the Ranger powers. Of course, thanks to the data and the information that they were able to gather from Pyramidas, which was still only at around 40% of its full power and reconstruction, due to all of the damage that it had sustained from its battle against Lord Dragon and the others, up until the point that they arrived into their dimension. In the meantime though, the other Zords were functional. However, they only had 3 that they could use at the moment, as they did not have a pilot for Zeo Ranger 1 Pink and Zeo Ranger 2 Yellow. This left a bit of a predicament in the sense that the Zords could form the Megazord, however, it wouldn't be complete. The Zeo Ranger 4 Green Megazord was a Taurus Bull, which served as the base/legs for the Megazord, with Zeo Ranger 3 Blue's Sphinx-like Zord serving as the main body and the arms, and with Shinji's Zord that served at the head. When all 3 combined, instead of forming a Megazord, they instead formed a centaur-like Zord figure. Of course, the base could work, however, it would have to be piloted solely using all 4s of the Bull's Taurus Zord. That could be a bit difficult to function, as you would require the Zord to move on 4 legs instead of 2. However, it could be operational if worse came to worse. There were rumors going around as to who the other 2 Rangers could be potentially, although none of that speculation could be made clear at the moment. And the Evas had not been completely abandoned just yet, as Gendo Ikari still felt as there could be some use for them, and he had his own stakes involved in the situation. For each of the 3 boys, they excelled in a different area of their training and combat. Among all of them, Shinji was the best as a pure Zord pilot. It just seemed to be something that came natural to him, and it felt different from being in the Eva unit. Of course, Shinji would still have to do his mandatory test in the Eva unit. That was something that he couldn't get out of. However, he enjoyed his Zord training a lot more than his Eva pilot training. Something about being in the Evas just never felt natural to Shinji, although he couldn't quite put his fingers on it. In the meantime, Kensuke proved to be an expert in marksmanship as well as in Zord blasting training. He proved to be good with any sort of gun or any sort of blaster for that part, whether it be in his ranger form or just in regular combat. His marksman skills and his sniping skills were second to none, better than even Shinji and Toji's. However, what Toji proved to be excelling at more than the other 2 was in his pure strength. When it came to physical training and combat, he just seemed to have a knack for it better than most. Jason explained to them what the cogs were, and on a few occasions they would have to go out and fight a few of them. While Nerve was focusing on the Angels, there were also the threat of the cogs as well as the generals of the Machine Empire. Jason knew fully well that they were out there somewhere in the world, although where exactly he couldn't quite figure out. While they had been able to catch a few cogs and stragglers along the way, the generals still remained in hiding. Unknown that the cogs were actually stationed on the moon, much like how they had usually been in their previous dimension. Keeping themselves well hidden, they were able to deduce the information that they could gather. Covertly, they were able to sneak cogs from the moon to the Earth whenever necessary, although it would usually be in slow waves, as they only had a limited amount of soldiers, and they would need to gather more materials if they were going to launch any more attacks. They had not lost sight of their main goal, to retrieve the 6 shards of the Zeo Crystal from the Zeo Ranger morphers, and to return the power back to Lord Draken. Although they were also curious about these angels, thinking that this power was something far greater than what the humans could ever hope to control, especially with Nerve. As the boys continued in their training, there was a bit of tension among them as well as with the other child, that being Rei Ayanami. She, however, had not been given the option to become a ranger just yet, as her main focus was still in piloting Eva Unit 0. Of course, though, it didn't rule out that she might not join them someday, and in fact, a few of them even thought that it would be better if she did, as it would give them one more Zord that they could use to form the Megazord when necessary. Although they would simply have to wait until the appropriate time would come for her to join them. Even though they wouldn't force her to join, she did sit in on their practices to examine and see what they could do. her eyes being fixated on Shinji the whole time. During one of their days as their training had wrapped up, Misato would take the boys along with Jason to an excavation area. It had been from where Shinji had defeated one of the angels inside of the Phoenix Zord, and they were examining the angel's body, as well as its core, to see just how well it was constructed. Jason would point out that the angels were a lot more different than what he was expecting, noting that they didn't seem to just move randomly, and that if he didn't know better, it seemed as if they had coordinated attacks. Of course, Jason would keep this sentiment to himself, as he didn't completely trust Nerve at the moment. But it wasn't hard to figure out that from where he had been standing, looking at where all of the angels had attacked at every point in time, it always seemed as if they were hovering around Nerve headquarters specifically. Of course, if the angels were truly out for world devastation, then shouldn't they attack all over the world? But yet, for a world-threatening creature, all their focus was primarily on Japan. Of course, he always had learned about the information of the first and the second impact, and he could tell that that level of devastation could indeed affect the entire world. But yet, at the base of every one of the impacts, Japan always seemed to be at the center. There was something here. Jason couldn't quite put his fingers on it, but there was something. There was more to it than whatever they were letting on. During the other days, as Shinji and the others would balance their life between going to school, as well as in their Zord training, and dealing with the potential cogs that would spring up around Tokyo 3, getting them good reps as they were able to see in what areas they were struggling in. When it came to fighting the cogs, Jason was able to gauge their combative skills. Kinsuke, while he was good with close-hand combat, tended to stay towards the back and use his blasters to take out the machine army. Toji was always willing to go head first into the action, never afraid to throw down with the cogs. And as for Shinji, he seemed to be a good balance between the two, knowing when to get close and knowing when to run, although Jason could see that he was still unsure of himself at times, and he could tell that it was mainly due to his confidence that he needed more help in. After one of their daily training bouts, Shinji along with Rei would be called in for the reactivation test for Ava Unit 0 and Ava Unit 1. As the two of them made their way together, Shinji would ask a little bit about Rei, wondering just what she saw in his father. He had learned of his father's scars on his hands, learning that he had burnt himself in an attempt to save Rei from an experiment gone wrong. Rei would speak calmly as she asked why Shinji didn't have faith in his father, although Shinji would angrily yell that he never had faith in him, and he could never understand anyone who would bother to put their faith in him. This earned him nothing but a slap to the face, as Rei looked as though she had had enough of his antics, as the two went to work in preparing for the reactivation test. Toji, Kinsuke, and Jason would be waiting in the area room, along with Misato and Ritsuko and the others, as this was just a standard test as always, and Shinji hadn't been doing much in this Ava recently. However, in the middle of the test, the fifth angel would be detected, a diamond-shaped being that would begin to hover over the city. Since Shinji was already in Ava Unit 1, it was decided that they would just simply launch out Ava Unit 1 to confront the angel, as it would be a lot quicker than attempting to get the Zords up and ready to go. Although Shinji would try to speak in protest, he would be overruled and would be told that they were launching out Ava Unit 1 immediately, since he were already inside. Ava Unit 0 wasn't at 100% synchronization, and as such would be put on standby. As Shinji would be launched along with his Ava, at the exact moment of appearing from the ground, the angel would launch its attack, shooting the Ava straight in the abdomen. Shinji feeling every excruciating moment as at that very time his vision would start to become blurry. He would start to see them again. He could see himself inside of Ava Unit 0, but his friends, Jason, no one was there. The only thing he could feel was pain and agony, before drifting off unconsciously. The Ava would be pulled back underground immediately, as the Angel would attempt another attack. The others would rush to Shinji in the hangar bay, as he would be ejected from the Ava immediately, as it had sustained much damage, being taken to the emergency room immediately to be treated. As an analysis was ran on the fifth Angel, it was seen to be that of a floating fortress, with a strong offense and defense capabilities, its AT fields being rather condensed, meaning that any attempts to get in for close-range combat will only result in damage towards whoever was trying to deal out the punishment, and that the Ava would not be able to get in for any close-range strikes. This now left NERV with not too many options, as they had to try to figure out the best course of action. Of course, they could attempt to do a rush job on Ava Unit 1. However, there was still the possibility of using the Zords, although how they would be able to do so, no one could tell. After running through their data, Misato would come to the realization that the best thing they could do was focus one highly powered strike. Maybe using a sniper rifle of some kind, they could attempt to launch an attack from the distance, not giving away their location. This could give them enough time to penetrate the Angel's defenses and take it out in one shot. However, the prototype sniper cannon that had been developed for the Avas would require a massive amount of energy, around 180 million kilowatts. The power that would be needed, Misato would decide, would come from the energy used in Japan. And as such, an announcement would be given that a national blackout would occur around 11:30 p.m. This would only give them around 30 minutes before the Angel's true intentions could be felt, as an immediately scope and analysis of the Angel would reveal that it was actually burrowing its way underground, hovering just above NERV headquarters. It would give itself around 10 hours before it would strike the heart of NERV Central. And as such, the operation would be put into effect. Operation Mishima. Jason would stand by inside of NERV headquarters, as he would stay inside of Pyramidas. Even though the Zord itself was only at 40% power, Jason believed that if worse came to worse, he could do what needed to be done to bring down the Angel, even if it cost him severe damage. In terms of who would use the cannon, as Ava Unit 1 was out of commission, it was decided that they would use the Megazord in its centaur-like form. They would station it on a mountainous region, and from there, they would focus their main operation in combining the skills of all three of its pilots in order to take down the Angel. Ray would stay on standby, using Ava Unit 0 in a special shield that had been built, since in the event that one shot was missed, it would require a cooldown period before they could launch another. During that time, in case the Angel were to attack, Ray, using Ava Unit 0, would use her shield in order to block and protect the three boys as they would go in for the second shot. This now left the many even more concerned than ever, as many were talking as though if they could only find 2 more pilots for the pink and the yellow Zords, then they could form the Megazord no problem. However, they had to work with what they had, and this was the hand that they had been dealt. While NERV were getting in preparation for their attack on the Angel, Jason, along with Toji and Kensuke, would be waiting in the hospital, as Shinji would awaken not too long after. Ray would arrive into the room and would brief them on the situation, telling them of the plans that had been put into motion and what they were going to do to fight off the Angel. Jason understood the mission at hand, although he was still worried for his students. It seemed as though, from the time that he had arrived, these three young boys had been thrown into the lion's den multiple times, so to speak. And you could see that even for a few of them that were excited, there was a nervousness on all of their faces. However, before leaving, he would tell them that he were proud of how far they had come. He believed in every single one of them, and to always remember to stand together, to watch out for one another, to cover each other's backs, and to stand as one. As long as they did so, they could overcome any obstacle that came their way. As Shinji would be given time to eat and prepare, the three boys would arrive to the hangar where their Zords were waiting. All three of them would get into synchronization, as it was morphin time. Zeo Ranger 3 blue, Zeo Ranger 4 green, and Zeo Ranger 5 red would ring out in the hangar, as an explosive light of blue, green, and red would shine through, the boys being energized by the morphing grid as the three rangers stood ready for battle. Now waiting for their chance to move out, Shinji would see Rei as she were walking out in her Ava uniform, preparing to go into Ava Unit 0. Shinji would tell the others to hang on for a moment, as he would walk up towards her, as there was something that he needed to talk to her about. Rei? Yes, Ikari? I just want to say be careful out there, you know? Why would you tell me that? It's my job in the operation to protect you three. Yeah, I know, but who's gonna be protecting you? I don't think you truly understand. It's not your job to watch out for me. But even still, you can't do this on your own. I mean, me, Toji, Kinsuke, we all have one another, but that doesn't mean you have to be by yourself. I mean, why go in alone? I suppose, why do anything, Ikari? In the end, I can only do what I am assigned to do. This is all I know. Then why? Why even stay here? I mean, isn't there more than this? Why do you even pilot the Ava in the first place? All it does is cause you harm. Why do you pilot the Zord? What? I asked, why do you pilot the Megazord? You have no reason to. Deep down, I can see that it causes you pain as well. Although you appear to enjoy it more than piloting the Ava. In the end, this is not the life you asked for, nor is it the life that you want. So why stay and do so in the first place? Shinji would be left without an answer. He truly couldn't understand why he did pilot the Zords. In the end, what was really all that different? Was it something he really wanted to do, or was it something that he had to do? Before they had a chance to speak further, Rei would offer Shinji a goodbye, as she left to go and be inserted into her Ava unit, as she, along with the other three Megazords, would head out, setting up their station on Mount Kumato, as they were preparing for Operation Mishima. The city would fall deathly quiet, as all power within Japan was being converted to the generators of nerve, as they were preparing to use the prototype firing cannon, built specifically to take down the Angel. Jason stood at the ready inside of Pyramidas under nerve, preparing in case anything went wrong, although he hoped that it wouldn't, as he was virtually the last line of defense. Gendo watched on from the headquarters as the operation went into effect. Not too long after, midnight would fall amongst the city. The three boys knew what needed to be done. Toji would stabilize the Megazord from the bottom. Kinsuke, with his expertise in shooting and in marksmanship, would angle the Zord's arms, knowing full well how to calibrate the rifle as to get the optimal shot. For Shinji, being the head, his job was to remain focused and to know when to strike. As Rei stood off to the side in Ava Unit 0, the shield at hand, ready in case anything went wrong. As the clock would strike midnight not too long after, the operation would be put into full effect. The cannon would be completely charged and ready for operation. The centaur-like Megazord would stand at the ready, fully prepared to take the shot. As the drill of the angel would begin to penetrate the inner layers of nerve, Jason would stand at the ready with Pyramidas, working as a counter to block the drill. As they did so, they would be told when to take the shot. However, it would be less than optimal as the angel would shoot off its own blast first. With no time to lose, they would fire the first shot from the cannon. In doing so, the two attacks would curve at one another in the center, before blasting off in opposite directions, each one a little off from its intended target. They had to reset as quickly as they could, but they would lose their focus for a brief moment, as they would see that the angel was preparing to fire a second shot faster than they could fire theirs. And with the cooldown still at 10 seconds, they knew that if they didn't get an optimal hit, they weren't going to survive this time around. However, in that exact moment, Rei, using the shield, would jump in the front of them, taking all of the attack from the angel, the shield being blasted away into nothing as she would be caught in the explosion. Using the time that she had brought them, they would realign themselves and take the second shot, this time not missing at all as they would hit their mark, blasting the angel square in the center, destroying it completely as it would fall to the ground. The angel's drill retracting back into itself as it had now been defeated. The people of Nerve celebrated in victory, and Gendo was pleased with the outcome. However, while Toji and Kinsuke were celebrating a job well done, Shinji had jumped out of the Megazord, rushing straight down towards where Ava Unit 0 had crashed. He reached out his hands towards the pilot's door. Using his enhanced strength, he was able to pull and rip it off, finding his way into the pilot's plug. As he would reach in and pull out Rei, holding her in his arms, she would slowly open her eyes as she would look up to see Shinji looking down upon her. She would have a confused look for a moment. The other boys would come out to see if they were alright, Shinji taking off his helmet, asking for her to respond. She would do so, although she couldn't understand why he had rushed here so quickly. Shinji would explain that he couldn't just sit by and do nothing, that she needed help and he was going to be there for her. Rei would ask what exactly she was supposed to do in this moment. These were emotions that she truly couldn't fathom. Shinji, with a tearful look, would tell her only two things. First, to never try to do everything by herself. That even if no one else was going to help her, that he would be there for her no matter what. And that if he truly wanted to thank him, then she should just smile. Why don't you try smiling? Rei at that moment would see the silhouette of Gendo and Shinji. this filling her with an emotion that she couldn't fully understand, but it was one that was rather pleasant. In kind, she would return her smile also towards him. The four young heroes would stay until Nerve was able to send someone in order to pick them up and bring them back to headquarters to check on their wounds and to debrief them on everything that happened. As Jason had finished with removing the drill, happy to see that his students had fought off the angel and a job well done, he couldn't help but shake off the suspicious feeling. The angel had put itself perfectly over Nerve, and for it to simply drill in the headquarters, that couldn't be a coincidence. No. The angels were after something. He just couldn't figure out what it was. However, deep within the heart of Nerve, underneath lie mankind's greatest sin. A sin of trying to play God. A sin that would not go unrectified. This concludes Neon Genesis Evangelion, The Star of Hope, Part 2. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that is to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for everything else that we have coming out this week, and please don't forget to vote down below for who you would like to see as the new ninja teams in What If Naruto Was the Avatar. Please check the community post for that poll, and please vote down below. The voting will end Thursday at midnight, and all of your votes matter, so they will be taken into account when the story comes out on Friday. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.